So I'm Anjum Moudgil, and I'm standing before you because I'm an athlete in a sport of shooting, and I've been into this sport from last 16, 17 years. And how they introduced, I've won a couple of medals, but I'll just share my journey, how I started, all the the struggles, the challenges I've faced, and how we went along. Because I feel when someone shares their experiences, it's the best you can learn, and to see how you take the different challenges in your life. So I started shooting because my mother, she was very enthusiastic sports person, and but she couldn't continue shooting because there were partiality back then when she was in school and college. And she did shooting because she was an NCC cadet. And once she was not able to continue, she tried different sports like gymnastics, volleyball, and everything. But when she became a maths teacher in her school in Punjab, she started, going for her NCC training. That's like becoming an NCC officer. And then when she started, training the cadets in her school, that's when I got introduced to the various camps, and I had an opportunity to attend a camp in the shooting range in Chandigarh. But my first day at the range, there was this coach there who was like, we cannot really entertain her because she's not a cadet, and we can't really allow just random person to walk in and shoot. So I had to go back. And the next day I went again to another range. There was this person who really helped me to try out my different guns they had and also try out my hand at shooting. So that's when I was really curious to learn this sport because, back in school I was a very shy, very introvert kid, and I always used to compare myself to the other students who were so, so intelligent, really scoring above 95%. They were just always comparing themselves for one more percentage to gain, like, oh, I have won, I have, earned 96%, I should have gone 97. So I was way out of that crowd because I just felt there's nothing left in numbers if there's no value to your life. So for me to be something different, I wanted something out of academics. And for that, I used to, try out different sports, used to miss out on my maths and history classes to try out cricket, throw ball. I've played nationals in throw ball and eventually many other sports. So when I started shooting, so joined NCC in 8th standard and I started shooting, and that's when I got to love this sport, started loving the feeling of actually a bullet leaving a rifles. And that's when I realized that this was giving me the confidence I've always wanted as a student, as a kid, when I was around 14, 15 years, that I didn't want it to be part of a crowd. I always wanted to do something that made me stand out. So that's when shooting really helped me. And, eventually when I started shooting and got recognition medals, that's when that really stood out for me. And, eventually when you start winning, there are so many people who start supporting you. So my school was always supporting me once I started winning, and that was a turning point in my career. So as a teenager, I used to really enjoy, like everyone enjoys staying out of their homes, enjoying your adolescence and friends and having parties. But I was there at home. When I was at home, I would, go out in the local bus to my NCC office, train there for around 4 to 5 hours without ammunition because back then I didn't have funds to, buy my own rifles or buy my own equipment. And, back then that's in 2008, 2009, asking funds from my family was, not an easy task. So only when you start doing this task of, just doing a thing repeatedly over the years, that's when you become, if there are no challenges, there is no fun of achieving. If you get everything in the beginning of your careers, there's no fire within to keep working hard, right? So that's why I always saw the struggles and always saw the challenges, something that I would accept and work on it and, put them aside. So that's how my whole teenage age went through. And I still remember I was very confused if I really wanted to pursue this sport as a career because, it's a sport of shooting. No one knew back then that we used to shoot rifles and bullets. So people just think that we are going for a movie shooting. But, growing through that, and then eventually 2016, I won my first gold medal. That was in the South Asian Games in Guwahati. That's when I realized that, okay, I can really pursue this sport seriously. And in 2017, I had this incident where I lost a very close family member. I was the closest to my aunt to a sickness. So I was in the hospital for around 10 to 15 days. And why was I in the hospital? Because I missed out on getting selected for 2 World Cups by zero point 0.5 points. And I was like crying that I've not made it to the team. But, whatever happens and, whatever happened back then happened for good because that was the only time I got when I was not traveling because I was not selected. So that's when I used to take my aunt to the hospital in Chandigarh and be there throughout the nights awake in case she needs anything in the general ward. And when I was sitting there for around like 10 to 11 days, I used to go there every night. The people there are used to cry because of the pain. They were used to someone used to just not listen to them, the patients and all. So all of the, the feeling you get in the hospital when people are just willing to live just one more day. I think that changed my whole perspective towards life and towards the pressure that we feel in sports because we feel that I have to do good, I have to be better than them. We start comparing, but when I was in the hospital, I was just like all of this comparisons. I want to be better than someone, I want to do this, I want to do that. It's all like it's not at all important because at that time when you are in the hospital or generally in life, all people want is to just live one day and be healthy and happy. So that's when something in my life changed when I got to know when I got to have that experience that in the life all that matters is having a healthy family, a healthy environment around you, and always happy people around you. And that's after that experience, right? I had couple of competitions where I had no pressure because all in my mind I was still there in the hospital looking at the people willing to just live one more day. And then I started sort of winning more competitions because there was so much clarity on what I wanted in life and what I really want to not have as a pressure or as a different negative situations in my thoughts. So, and in 2018, it was a milestone year for me, and I was sort of into my mid 20s where I started winning my first World Cup medal. That was in Mexico, and my Commonwealth Games medal was again in 2018. And when I came back home, and my aunt had already passed away in 2017, I was reading her diary. She used to write every day. In her diary, I saw that she had written that she knew that 2018 would be Commonwealth Games, and I was really working hard to be part of that games. So I read a diary entry where she had written that Anjum had won a medal in the Commonwealth Games. So that really, gave me so much happiness and calmness at the same time because I had achieved what she had wanted. And it was all possible because of the different challenges I've been through with all the positivity that my family had supported me. And when I've done with my, 2018, 2019 cycle, I had already qualified for the Tokyo Olympics. And then, COVID happened, and that's when everyone realized how important it is to spend time with the family. So many people lost their loved ones. So that's an year where I had to really rebuild my mental aspect of who Anjum Moudgil was, because I had a couple of months and a year where I couldn't really perform well. And also, because of COVID, we came to know how important it is to be healthy, to be, mentally strong, and also be happy with all the people around you. So that's when I started my mental training. And eventually, after the Tokyo Games, where it had really affected all of the athletes, because once you're there and you do not win a medal at the Olympics, there has been a lot of chatter around us before going also. So once we did not win anything in Tokyo, we had to deal with a lot of negative comments and a lot of criticism online, and also to all the events we are going. But I think that is where the people became stronger, and they knew how to deal with all of these situations. And that's when the meditation comes in, and that's when the right kind of people who are along in your journey, what they talk to you, what you talk to them, and how you speak up. I think that's when I actually started speaking up on my social media, so that any junior athlete or any athlete who's going through a hard time, it's very difficult for us to sometimes go out there and talk to someone, because we don't know what to say. But when you see someone discussing or sharing their experience and what they all went through, that's when we learned that the importance of sharing. And one thing that has really helped me in my career to be here today as a two-time Olympian and Arjuna awardee, it's just the courage I had back then in 2021 to start talking to people about the mental issues I have. And I think that has really changed the person I am today. And also, then 2022 happened to be the best year for me, because after all the downfall from the Tokyo, I became world number one in 2022. And that really helped me to understand who I am. But at the same time, I didn't really have that self-belief that I can be world number one. So with all the mental training that went into place, I was again out of the team for a couple of months, where I was wanting to, qualify for the Paris Olympics. And then, when I was out of the team, my partner, he suggested me, you should take a break, because anyway, you're not in the team, so you don't have to travel anywhere. And let's just take a break and understand who you are and what have you lost in the process of finding results. Because I was so focused on getting the results to be selected for a competition, that I really forgot to work on myself as an athlete and as a human. So that's when the value of who you really are comes into place. And for me, who Anjum Moudgil was, that really happened then, because I went to learn some paragliding, and I started painting again. And that was something that my partner suggested, that if you really want to do better in shooting, you should start painting. Because I feel as an athlete, or as anyone who's in specific field, it's so important that you do something outside of the field too. If you're an athlete, if you are a writer, if you are an actor, if you are in corporate, there is so important to do something outside of your field, because it really helps you to break the pattern of your body, of your mind. And at the same time, it's so important for the mind to develop into a different flow and a different feeling. So that's how, for me, paragliding helped. That's how, for me, painting helped. And I was very fortunate enough to have the right people around me. And then eventually I, won the couple of trials that happened for the Paris Olympics, and I made it to the Paris team. No matter what you do in life, all that matters is a healthy life, a healthy mind and body, and happy group of people around you where you are supporting each other, and also you are, together building each other up. Because I just feel ki it's so important to have a community together where you can push each other to, win your goals, achieve something, but at the same time, enjoy this journey called life, because it's not coming again. It's just one time shot, and no matter how badly you want something, do not forget to spend the present time with the right kind of people, with doing the right kind of activities, having fun, and also if you are really willing to achieve something, really wanting to achieve something, and you are working really hard for that, you will receive all the best success in that. But at the same time, that will only happen when the journey is really enjoyed and you are happy and you are really content with the people around you. Do not wait that I'll, spend the time or do something once I'm, 40, or I've achieved something, I've won this, or I've earned this much money. All the ups and downs as an athlete that I've had, I have learned this, that the balance has to be today. It cannot be once I am 30 or once I am 40. So it's very important to hustle, but in a very balanced way. And I just hope if you are, students, athletes, or even adults, if you are doing something in your life, do it in a way where you spend time with your family, because they are getting older, and then you won't get enough time with the people around you if you move somewhere. So it's so important to take everyone along, be the best version of you, treat everyone in the best way possible, because there's no room for hatred in our lives, because eventually it will not take you anywhere. So just keep growing. And yeah, I think I would just end by saying it's a life, and no matter where you are, it's the best that could have happened right now. And for the best to come, all you need to do is just keep enjoying the journey, but do not give up. Just keep going and going. And I think once you are really happy from within, it will reflect to all the people around you. Thank you.